What's going on, guys? I'm Bill and welcome to Bill's How To. Today I'm going to show you guys how to repair little chips or dents in your door. So we've got a little chip here up on top. We've got a couple running through the door all over the place. Down in the middle here you can see there's a decent one running through the middle. Looks like somebody's just hit it with a bit of furniture. Usually I'd prefer to just replace the door, $40 for a new door, repaint it, reinstall it, off you go. But for whatever reason the owner wants to have this one here repaired rather than replaced. So today I'm going to show you guys how to repair this. In the future I'm going to show you guys how to repair big damage on doors, especially when people like to punch a hole through it. But for today I'm going to show you guys how to fix these little dents and gouges and little chips that are missing out of this door. Let's get straight into it, guys. Let's do this. Alright guys, so the first thing we're going to do is just simply scrape off any of the little high spots that we might have, especially this little gouge section here. It looks like maybe somebody's tried to touch up over the top of it, but either way we're just going to quickly scrape that off. Want to knock off any high spots. Sometimes you have to go a little bit backwards before you can go forwards. You can see there, as we take that off, we've got a little bubbled section of the paint. This one here might have actually bubbled over time, and then that's the reason why it started to flake. But either way, we're going to just scrape this one here back with the scraper, get it nice and flat to begin with. Run around all these little chips, make sure everything, there's no high spots anywhere. We've got a couple other doors as well to do in this house, but for this one here, I'm just going to show you just the main door, or this door that we're working on now. So we just want to completely scrape that right back, get it all nice and flat before we actually sand it and then fill it. So you can see there, once this one here decides to focus, we've got it all nice and flat. Everything's looking good. Next thing we're going to do is just take a little bit of sandpaper and we're going to sand these little chips. The reason why we do that, we want to get rid of any little sections that might be still flaking off. So if I run my nail across it, you can hear there where my nail's still catching on the edge of the paint. We want to try sand that just a little bit to prevent the nail from being able to catch on that paint. Once we do that, we'll get started on filling it. So what I'm going to use is just 240 grit sandpaper. Give it a very light sand. And now we've got that nice and flat. We'll move on to the next ones. It's a pretty simple, straightforward process, very, very easy. Now that we've got that all sanded, what we're going to do next is simply fill that in. We're going to be using a timber filler, which I'll grab in a second. So the timber filler that I'm using is this one right here. It's a very, very cheap timber filler, poly filler, trimming doors up to 3 millimeters. Now this one here works really, really well. It's a pre-mixed version, which I'm actually pretty surprised at how well it works. Originally, when I first started seeing these products, I didn't want to try them at first, and then once I finally got around to trying them, they actually work very, very well. And like I said, they are on the cheap side, so it works very well to keep a couple of these tubes in the car. All we want to do, get a little bit on our scraper here. So you can see the consistency of this one here is really nice and creamy, makes it very, very easy to work with. All we're going to do here is simply just wipe that over the top. Now, what you want to do, I see a lot of people make this mistake. They run the blade really flat and go hard up against the surface. What that does is it fills in a little bit, almost flush with the surface, but as it dries up, sometimes it tends to shrink a little bit, and then you'll get just a little pocket in there. So what I like to do is I just run it over, make it a little bit thicker, just like that. That way I can just sand that excess off once it dries. So once again, same thing, we've got another one that was here and one down a bit below. I find a little trick to getting this on, rather than keeping your blade like almost really sharp up against it, if you just keep it a little bit flatter down like that and then kind of just take that weight off the blade, you end up putting a little bit more product on there. So once again, same thing, take a little bit of the weight off with that finger, and we can just smear that down nice and smooth. So we'll just keep repeating the process all around here until we've completely filled up all these little pockets. Doesn't really matter if you put too much on. If you put it a little bit too thick on like that, it's not really an issue. The only issue you're going to have, or the only little downfall to it, is that you're going to have to sand a little bit more afterwards. So always a good idea to just try and practice a little bit. That way you won't have to do as much sanding. We've got a couple little more sections down the bottom. So now we've got the door completely patched up. We're just going to let it sit for an hour or two until it dries up. That's one of the other benefits of leaving it on fairly thin. It dries up quicker. You can see here, hopefully, the thickness or the amount of thickness that I've got here. It's very, very thin. And this one here is a very fine fill. So that means we're going to be able to sand it nice and easy. It's not going to take much effort, even if we did put it on a little bit thick like I did on this section here when this camera decides to focus. So hopefully you guys can see that it's not that thick at all, probably about 1 millimeter if that, and it's going to be nice and easy to sand. So I'm going to try and do most of the work while the door's still up with the hinges on. So we're going to leave this one here, sand it off while it's still on here, spot prime it, and then I'll consider possibly removing it in order to paint it. All right guys, so now it's completely dry. We're just going to use the 240 grit sandpaper once again. Just give it a quick sand, knock off all those high spots, make sure it's nice and level. The reason why I'm still using it with 240 is just to keep it all nice and fine. I don't want to see any of those sandpaper marks left on the door. And we'll just work our way all the way around. So once the door's completely sanded, we can then apply our primer. So I'm just going to use a brush, spot prime the areas that we filled. So now it's time to paint the door. I've removed the door from the door jamb, and what I'm going to use is a roller. So we've got here a 5-nap roller that's designed for oil and water-based paints, and also with a semi-gloss or a gloss finish, which I've got here. We've got a gloss finish. So this is the roller that we're using. I'm just going to get straight into rolling this one here in. Now with these doors you can choose to either roll or spray. Both of them are good options, just depending on how many doors you have to do. Whenever it's only 1 or 2 doors, I tend to just choose to roll it. So we'll get started on rolling this one here. Whenever you're using a roller, probably the most important thing is just to keep a wet edge. You can see I'm just packing on the paint onto the door. It's not really an issue as long as I make sure to keep a wet edge so it doesn't dry, and also roll off any imperfections. So any of those roll marks, make sure you just go over it as I'm doing now. Spread the paint out. Now the reason why I'm rolling this one here on the floor is I was initially going to spray it, but I thought I can't be bothered really getting out the spray gun, so I'm just going to roll it instead. I really should have put this on a horse. Not very comfortable doing it like this at all. But we've only got 2 doors to roll through right now, and we'll make do with what we've got. So like I said, wet edge is probably the most important thing, especially if you're using a water-based paint. It tends to dry a lot quicker, and you just want to make sure that you've got a wet edge to prevent any of those lines from drying up. And once that's done, guys, this is the finished product. So whether you're using a roller or a spray gun, you can still achieve a very nice finish. As you guys can see here, I used a roller and it's got a very, very smooth consistency all the way through. No roll marks whatsoever. And that's why it's so important to keep a wet edge. The only tip I want to give you guys is make sure that you're working comfortably. I made the mistake of rolling it while it's on the ground. Very, very uncomfortable, and it's hard to get that consistency that you're after. Put it up on a table or on a horse, much better to work off. I used a 5mm nap roller, so keeping that the nap really short on the roller allows you to get rid of that stipple effect or the roller effect when you're using a roller. So just keep a nice short nap, keep your wet edge. Very nice finish, guys. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video. As always, like, comment and subscribe. Until next time, I'm Bill. Thanks for watching. Billshowto.